Good day, everyone. So, the former president denies sending a lewd note to Epstein and demands all court docs be made public, blasting the Wall Street Journal's report as fake. Trump also orders Pam Bondi to push for the unsealing of grand jury transcripts in the Epstein case, hitting at names that the public hasn't seen yet. So, there are some names within these documents that supposedly we haven't or we don't know any knowledge of. Now, Congress passes a surprise late night bill slashing billions in governmental spending. Now, the final decision lands on Trump's desk. New research reveals Obamacare premiums could skyrocket by 75% next year. Why it's happening and while the American people are be footing the toll or essentially paying the bill when it comes to the Affordable Health Care Act that's literally no longer affordable. So late last night, President Trump blasted Democrats on Truth Social, calling the Epstein case a scam, and demanded Attorney General Pam Bondi officially petition the court to unseal all pertinent grand jury transcripts in the Epstein saga. Bondi confirmed her office is ready to move the court tomorrow, and critics, including Representative Goldman and Jamie Raskin, fire back, labeling it performative theater, arguing that the transcripts typically cover Maxwell and Epstein not powerful friends. And what they're getting at here is that there's a cover up. There's a very large governmental cover up of very powerful people who are not wanting to be named, that their names have been redacted. That yesterday I was reporting that a lot of them were stating that they were victims, so their names cannot be revealed. So this is a large cover up that people are now understanding that in some regards the Trump administration is now hiding by the way of Pam Bondi, by the way of Cash Patel, and even President Trump himself. So I'll continue to report on that as new updates come about. Now, simultaneously, Trump is threatening to sue the Wall Street Journal over its claims that he sent Epstein a birthday note drawing, something Trump categorically denies that the Wall Street Journal reported the letter included a sketch of a naked woman and intimate language he never used. But again, this is just some conjecture and rhetoric, and we'll see if there's any verifiable evidence or truth behind this. Trump called the alleged note fake and vowed legal action against Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal, saying, quote, I never drew that or used that language. Trump's defense transparency is reactive, not proactive. And critics say that this is exactly why he must go further and reveal anything that he has on Epstein. And I believe this is very important. And then what you see on your screen here, guys, um, now, while the Epstein drama really unfolds, Congress just passed a $9 billion spending cuts package, mainly sharing foreign aid and public broadcasting with a razor thin 216 to 213 House vote. And the Senate had already backed it, but crucially added 400 million to a pork funding called PEPFRR. Now it moves to Trump's desk. Symbolically, it's a win for the fiscal hawks, but opponents warn it could cripple soft diplomacy and regional stability. And this is mostly $1 billion has been cut to legacy and mass media by the likes of NPR. So they have been protesting about this, that there is no more government subsidies to legacy media. So basically, he's cutting and gutting the same news agencies that went after him before he was the 45th president, and of course, while he was running to be the 47th president. Okay. Now, on the healthcare front, as we switch gears, analysts from KFF and NPR revealed that Obamacare premiums are set to soar. Average ACA plans cost rising by 75% next year. And Reddit users are already panicking. One healthy woman says her silver plan will jump from 600 to roughly 1100 per month. Now, the culprit, supposedly, allegedly, federal subsidies expiring unless Congress acts. In absent actions, millions face massive financial strains if this was to go into effect. Now, there was something that I was speaking about yesterday about in textbooks, they're trying to label immigration as slavery, and that slavery was simply another form of immigration. And we understand this is absolutely 1000% false. And I wanted to cover that story that we talked about. So here's the story that I'm referencing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this story, but this is the story that we spoke about just the other day. Give me one second here. But it states that Black homeschoolers push back against racist, unregulated curriculum they call slavery immigration. And it goes on to state that as more Black families opt out of public schools, they're confronting the racist materials dominating the home education market and building alternatives. So I do want to give a quick piece and talk about this very important topic um, because I think it deserves a breakdown of sorts. Because as we are unraveling a very dangerous truth about spotlighting a revolutionary movement happening in real time, a movement of knowledge, and they're calling again slavery immigration. And I want you guys to let that sink in because in textbooks sold to families across the nation, in lesson plans that's passed off as Christian education and curriculum shaped by decades of whitewash ideology, slavery, and one of the most brutal and violent and even dehumanizing crimes in world history is being rebranded as immigration. We know this is not the same thing. It's a choice. It's a relocation. It's a job. It's an opportunity. You guys remember what Ron DeSantis stated back down there in Florida that Florida was helpful to Black people. And this is what they teach in far too many home education programs. But now, a lot of foundational Black American parents are saying, not on our watch. We're not going to go through this. We're not going to do these things. We're not going to teach our children lies or redact or retract the information that you guys are not putting in these books. We're still going to teach them about the horrible atrocities that this country have done to our people. So you can't eradicate that. And this isn't just a pushback. This is a educational revolution as we look at this. Now, since the COVID-19 pandemic began, a lot of Black families have really been homeschooling for quite some time. They've really been pushing it back against a lot of the rhetoric. Now, a lot of Black families have been exiting public school systems in very large numbers. And we saw the rate of Black homeschooling rise from 3.3% to 16.1% almost overnight. And I'm pretty sure you guys know why, because many of us got a front row seat to the trauma our children endure in those classrooms. And even to this day, we saw our babies being over disciplined and mislabeled and ignored and erased. And now that many of us have taken the responsibility to teach our children at home, we are confronting a new monster, racist, unregulated, and the curriculum with dangerous distortions and lies about history. So, if we talked about Dr. Timberly Baker, which is a college professor and mother in Arkansas, and she opened a triangular trade lesson and saw our ancestors described as product. She was again broken up and shaken behind this, and that wasn't education, that was indoctrination. She ripped the page right out of the book and set her children down and taught them that the truth using roots and oral histories and the blood memory of our people. And then we talked about Delana McFall in Texas after the murder of Trayvon Martin. She pulled her child from school and created a revolutionary tool called woke homeschooling. Now, the woke that she's referring to and the woke that they demonize in public media and politics today are two different things. I just want to make sure you guys understand the distinction. But the woke homeschooling she's referring to is a Afrocentric truth-telling curriculum now used by over 13,000 families across America. And her message is the system won't teach our children the truth, we will. And let's talk about Dr. Peters at the University of Kansas. She didn't call homeschooling an option, she called it an act of self determination. a declaration of independence from a public education system built on anti-Blackness. Now, but this movement didn't start in 2020. This movement is ancestral work because back in 1787, the African Free School opened in New York City to teach Black children what white society refused to. Now, before that, during slavery, it was illegal to teach a Black child to read, but our ancestors did it anyway in secret by candlelight and also in defiance because Prince Hall, I know you guys were familiar with Prince Hall, taught our people literacy behind closed door. They risked life and limb to give us knowledge because they knew what we still know today, that education in a lot of regards is liberation. But yet, the homeschooling industry today is dominated by organizations like the Homeschool Legal Defense Association, that was founded back in 1983 to promote conservative Christian, white centric ideologies. And many of their materials reflect that praising slave owners and ignoring genocide and portraying white supremacy as righteousness. Now, in 28 states, you can homeschool without ever showing anyone your curriculum. Now, oversight, no regulation, no protection for our children from lies dressed up as lessons. And this is how the whole school to prison pipeline essentially started, with the lies and the extraction and the implementation of white supremacy ideology in education. So we are seeing a rise of homeschooling cooperatives led by Black families like Brown Mammoths in Pittsburgh, offering group classes, peer support, and culturally reflective teaching. We are seeing university led initiatives like the Black Family Homeschool Educators and Scholars Network, creating platforms for advocacy, research, and also, resources. We are building our own textbooks to teach our children the truth, and not just quote unquote slavery or race history, but this the true nature of our people. And on our own online classrooms, our own online curriculums rooted in our history and our heroes and our history, because a lot of that stuff has been eradicated, folks. A lot of that history is being erased. So we do have to teach our children our history, our heroes. And we are raising children who know who Mansa Musa was, who understood what the Harlem Renaissance did, who can tell you about John Henry Clark, one of our master teachers, about Francis Cress Welsing, and about the Black Panthers feeding breakfast to our babies when the government would not. They are learning about redlining, the Tulsa Massacre, COINTELPRO, and the Black Liberation Army, not just what happened, but why it matters. You can teach someone or inform someone about their history, but why does it matter? Because education isn't neutral. It shapes identity, it builds consciousness. And for centuries, this nation has tried to stripe ours away. They really tried to strip ours away. But now we are building anew. We are the authors now. We are the narrators, the architects of our children's minds. This is just not about homeschooling. This is home healing, home reclaiming, and in a lot of regards, home empowering. So if you're listening to this and wondering what you can do to support these curriculum creators, share their work, challenge your local school boards. And if you have children of your own, ask yourself, what are they being taught? Who are they telling? Because our children deserve more than just lies, they deserve liberation. Because I know when our son comes home from school and he's talking about a history lesson, or he's talking about some sort of uh, education, literature, or doctrine that he went over, I have to ensure that I have to verify its accuracy. And in some regards, there's been on occasion, maybe two or three times, where my wife and I sat down and actually informed him of the actual truth and not just what the school was pushing on them. Because when your kids are in high school, middle school, elementary school, they're very impressionable because they understand, the system understands that this is how we shape the American future. And if they can eradicate the atrocities, the history, they were stating that in some regards that slavery was immigration, that slavery was a choice, that, oh, Africans are the ones who sold their own people into slavery. Now, you can always mask a little truth in a bigger lie and have people to believe a certain thing. So when you have certain said groups that push out that narrative but never gives you the other side of the story, then those are the things that I believe that everyone should absolutely question each and every time.